My name is Lucas Carter. I never thought the person who would rush across the country for me would be the woman everyone in the company was afraid to approach. Sophia Bennett, the CEO of Bennett Global. The woman who could end a negotiation with one sentence, make a room full of executives go silent with one look, and turn down people without even changing her expression. Everyone called her the Ice Queen. I used to think that name fit her perfectly, until the night I ended up in the emergency room. Lucas Carter, a nurse opened the curtain beside my bed and looked down at the tablet in her hand. Do you have anyone we can contact? I stared at her for a moment. My parents live 3 states away. Anyone else? The question sounded simple, but somehow it made me hesitate. Anyone else? My mind immediately went to one person. Sophia. I almost laughed at myself. Why would I call her? She was probably sitting in some luxury hotel conference room, negotiating a deal worth hundreds of millions of dollars. She didn't have time for someone like me. I was just her assistant. The person who organized her schedule, reminded her about meetings, and made sure she actually ate lunch when she forgot. I wasn't someone important. At least, that's what I thought. I need a number, the nurse reminded me. I picked up my phone. My fingers stopped over her name. Sophia Bennett. For a few seconds, I just stared. Then I pressed call. She answered after 2 rings. Lucas. Her voice was calm, professional, the same voice she used when speaking to investors. Why are you calling me this late? I swallowed. I'm in the hospital. Silence. Not the normal silence I was used to. This silence was different. Saying that again. I frowned. What? Lucas, say it again. I sat up slightly. I had an accident. I'm okay. The doctor just wants a family contact. I expected her to say something logical. Something cold. Something like, call your parents. Instead, her voice changed. Which hospital? I blinked. It's not a big deal, Sophia. Lucas. Her tone became sharper. Which hospital? I gave her the information. Then I heard movement on her side. A door opening. People talking. I realized she wasn't alone. Sophia, are you in a meeting? Yes. Then don't leave. Seriously. I'm fine. Another pause. Then she said something I never expected. Cancel everything. My eyes widened. What? I said cancel everything. Sophia, no. I could hear someone in the background speaking. Ms. Bennett, the Zurich investors are already waiting. The contract is worth $3 billion. I froze. $3 billion. This was the deal everyone at Bennett Global had been preparing for months. The deal that could change the company's future. The deal Sophia personally flew across the country for. I heard her answer. Reschedule. The person on the other side sounded shocked. Reschedule? Tonight? Yes. But the investors. I said reschedule. Her voice was cold again. The kind of voice that ended arguments. Then she spoke to me. Lucas, stay where you are. Sophia, you don't have to come. I know. Then why? I said stay. The call ended. I stared at my phone. I couldn't understand what just happened. Sophia Bennett had canceled a $3 billion negotiation because I was injured. That didn't make sense. Nothing about it made sense. A nurse walked back in. Your family member is on the way? I looked at the phone. I don't know. She smiled. Well, whoever it is, they sounded like they were coming. 2 hours passed. The doctor checked my condition again. The nurse changed my bandage. I kept telling myself Sophia wouldn't actually come. She was busy. She was practical. She wasn't the kind of person who abandoned a major deal for someone else. Then the emergency room doors opened, and she walked in. Sophia Bennett, still wearing the same black suit from her meeting. Her hair was slightly messy. Her expression was controlled, but her eyes gave her away. She looked worried. Actually worried. For me. I had never seen that before. The nurse looked at her. Are you family? Sophia stopped. For a moment, she didn't answer. I don't know why, but my heart started beating faster. Because I knew everyone in that room was waiting for her answer. She could say she was my boss. She could say she was just my employer. That would make sense. That was the truth. But Sophia looked at me. Then she looked back at the nurse and said, yes. The nurse smiled. Relationship? Sophia walked to my bedside. She placed her hand on the edge of my bed. Then she said quietly, I am his family. I stopped breathing for a second. Because Sophia Bennett didn't hesitate. Not even once. Sophia, I didn't know what to say. She looked at me. You scared me. Those words shocked me more than anything else. Because this woman didn't admit fear. Ever. I thought you didn't care about things like this. Her eyes narrowed. I don't. I almost smiled. Right. She looked away, then quietly added, but I care about you. The room suddenly felt silent. I stared at her. She seemed to realize what she had said. Her expression immediately returned to normal. You need rest. Classic Sophia. Say something impossible, then pretend it never happened. But it was too late. I heard her, and I would never forget it. That night, I learned something about Sophia Bennett. The Ice Queen wasn't cold. She was just afraid of showing anyone how much she cared. And somehow, I had become the person she couldn't hide it from anymore. I thought Sophia would leave after the doctor finished checking me. That would have been the logical thing. She had a company to run. A negotiation worth $3 billion had been interrupted because of me. Hundreds of employees were probably waiting for her decision. The board members were probably already asking questions. Sophia Bennett never let personal matters interfere with business. At least, that was the woman everyone knew. But when the doctor walked away and the nurse closed the curtain, Sophia was still sitting beside my bed. She didn't move. She didn't check her phone. She didn't make a single business call. She just stayed. I looked at her for a while before finally speaking. You know you can leave, right? Sophia didn't look up. No. I frowned. No. No. That's your whole answer? Yes. I almost laughed. Even now, she was impossible. Sophia, you canceled something huge tonight. I know. A $3 billion deal. I know. You might lose it. She finally looked at me. Lucas. Her voice was calm, but there was something different in her eyes. Do you think I don't understand the value of that deal? I became quiet. No. Do you think I didn't calculate the consequences? No. Then stop explaining my own decisions to me. That was the Sophia I knew. Confident. Unshakable. But then her expression softened. I made a choice. I stared at her. Why? The question came out before I could stop it. Why me? Why would the most powerful woman in the company choose me over a deal that could change everything? Sophia looked away. For a moment, she didn't answer. Then she said, because when I heard you were hurt, nothing else mattered. My heart skipped. I didn't know what to say. Sophia seemed to realize how honest she had been, because she immediately picked up her phone. You should sleep. I smiled slightly. You always do that. Do what? Say something that surprises me, then act like it never happened. She looked at me. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you don't. The next morning, I woke up and found Sophia still there. She was sitting in the chair beside my bed. Her eyes were closed. She was asleep. I had never seen that before. Sophia Bennett sleeping in a hospital chair. The woman who forced executives to prepare reports until midnight had fallen asleep because she refused to leave me alone. I moved slightly. Her eyes opened immediately. You're awake. I nodded. How long have you been sleeping like that? I wasn't sleeping. I looked at the chair. Sophia. I was resting my eyes. I couldn't help smiling. You're terrible at lying. She looked offended. I am excellent at lying. No, you're excellent at negotiating. Big difference. For a second, I saw something rare. A small smile. Not the polite smile she gave investors. A real one. It disappeared quickly, but I saw it. Later that morning, the doctor came in. Lucas, your injuries aren't life-threatening, but you need to take it easy for a few days. Sophia immediately asked, what does he need? The doctor looked at her. Are you his wife? I almost choked. Sophia froze. No. The doctor nodded. Girlfriend. Again, silence. I looked at Sophia. Her expression was impossible to read. No. The doctor smiled. Family member? This time, Sophia answered without hesitation. Yes. The doctor left after giving instructions. But I couldn't stop thinking about that answer. Family. She had chosen that word. Not boss. Not employer. Family. When we were alone again, I asked, why did you say that? Sophia looked confused. Say what? I'm your family. She became quiet. Then she stood up and adjusted the flowers on the table. I meant that you're important to me. That doesn't answer the question. She sighed. You ask too many questions. And you avoid too many answers. She looked at me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she finally said, because when I needed someone, you were there. I froze. Sophia wasn't talking about work. She was talking about something else. Something deeper. You remember that? Of course I remember. I tried to think. When? She looked at me. The night my company almost collapsed. I remembered. 2 years earlier, Bennett Global had almost lost a major investor. Everyone thought Sophia was finished. She had stayed in her office for 3 days. No sleep, no proper meals. Everyone around her only cared about the company's future. But one night, I had left food on her desk. Nothing special, just dinner and a note. Even CEOs need to eat. I hadn't thought much about it, but apparently she had. You were the only person who treated me like a person. Her voice was quiet. Everyone else saw my title. She looked at me. You saw me. I didn't know how to respond. Because suddenly, the woman everyone feared wasn't a CEO. She was just Sophia, a woman who had spent years pretending she didn't need anyone. That afternoon, my phone started exploding with messages. The news had spread. Bennett Global CEO cancels $3 billion deal due to emergency. Everyone was talking. Employees, investors, the media. I looked at Sophia. You need to fix this. She didn't answer. Sophia. She calmly picked up her phone. I already did. What? She showed me a message. A meeting request. From the board. They want an explanation. I felt guilty. This is because of me. Sophia immediately looked at me. No. But. No, Lucas. Her voice was firm. This is because people think they can decide what matters to me. I stared at her. And can they? Sophia held my gaze. No. A few seconds passed. Then she added, not anymore. I didn't understand what those words meant at the time. But later I would. Because that night in the hospital wasn't just the moment Sophia came for me. It was the moment everyone realized something had changed. The Ice Queen had a weakness. And her weakness was me. But what nobody knew was, I was about to become the person who helped her fight everyone who tried to take her down. And Sophia Bennett was about to prove something even more shocking. She wasn't afraid to lose billions. She was afraid to lose me. By the time I left the hospital, the entire company already knew. Sophia Bennett had canceled a $3 billion international deal because her assistant was injured. That was the headline everyone cared about. Not that I was recovering. Not that I was safe. Not that Sophia had stayed beside my bed all night. Only one thing mattered to people. The Ice Queen CEO had made an emotional decision. And in the business world, showing emotion was considered a weakness. I hated that. Especially because I knew the truth. Sophia didn't make a careless decision. She made a human one. The first thing I noticed when I returned to Bennett Global was the silence. Usually, the office was full of movement. People rushing to meetings. Employees discussing projects. Assistants carrying documents. But that morning, everyone looked at me. Some looked curious. Some looked surprised. Some looked like they wanted to ask questions, but were too afraid. I walked toward my desk when my coworker, Ethan Miller, stopped me. Dude. I looked at him. What? He lowered his voice. Is it true? I sighed. Depends on what you heard. That Sophia flew back overnight because of you. I didn't answer. Ethan's eyes widened. Seriously? She just came to the hospital. Lucas, she canceled the biggest deal of the year. I didn't ask her to. I know. He looked towards Sophia's office. That's why everyone is confused. I frowned. What do you mean? Ethan leaned closer. Because Sophia Bennett doesn't do anything without a reason. I looked at him. She had a reason. Yeah. He smiled slightly. And apparently you're it. Before I could respond, my phone rang. Sophia. I answered immediately. Hello. Come to my office. Her voice was short. Classic Sophia. No explanation. No greeting. Just an order. Now. Yes. The call ended. Ethan looked at me. Good luck. I walked toward her office. Sophia's office door was open. I knocked anyway. Come in. She was standing beside the window, looking through a stack of documents. She didn't look tired. She didn't look stressed. She looked exactly like the CEO everyone feared. I closed the door. You wanted to see me? Yes. She handed me a folder. I opened it. My eyes widened. The board meeting? She nodded. Tomorrow morning. They want answers. Yes. I looked at the papers. They're blaming you. Yes. Because of me. Sophia immediately looked up. No. I knew that tone. The discussion was over. But I wasn't going to let it go. Sophia, if you had completed that deal. Lucas. She interrupted me. Do you know why I hired you? I blinked. What? You heard me. I thought about it. Because I'm good at my job? No. That surprised me. Sophia walked closer. Because everyone around me tells me what I want to hear. I stayed quiet. They agree with everything I say. They avoid difficult conversations. They care about my position. She looked at me. But you don't. I almost smiled. That sounds like a compliment and an insult. It is both. I laughed. For a second, the serious atmosphere disappeared. Then she continued. You are the only person in this company who tells me when I'm wrong. I looked down. I just do my job. No. Her answer was immediate. You remind me that I'm not just a machine. Those words hit harder than I expected. Because coming from Sophia, they meant something. The board meeting happened the next day. I wasn't supposed to attend, but Sophia asked me to join. When I entered the conference room, everyone stopped talking. There were 12 executives sitting around the table. Most of them were older, experienced, powerful. They looked at me like I didn't belong. Then Sophia walked in. Everyone stood. Sit. They sat immediately. She placed a folder on the table. Let's begin. The chairman of the board, Richard Coleman, looked at her. Sophia, we need to discuss your decision. I know. You walked away from a $3 billion agreement. Yes. Because of a personal matter. The room became silent. Sophia didn't react. I made a business decision. Richard frowned. A business decision? Yes. He glanced at me. By prioritizing one employee? I felt uncomfortable. Before I could say anything, Sophia spoke. Be careful. Everyone looked at her. Her voice became colder. Lucas isn't the reason the deal changed. Richard raised an eyebrow. Then what is? Sophia opened the folder. The investors changed the terms after our final review. The room went quiet. I looked at the documents. She had prepared everything. The canceled meeting wasn't just about me. She had already found problems with the contract. Problems that could have cost the company billions later. Richard looked surprised. You knew? Yes. And you still left? Sophia looked at him. Yes. Why? She didn't answer immediately. Then she said, because I knew I could fix the deal. She paused. But I couldn't fix losing someone who trusted me. Nobody spoke. Not one person. After the meeting ended, I followed Sophia out. You already knew there were problems with the contract? Yes. And you still came to the hospital? Yes. Why didn't you tell anyone? She stopped walking. Because nobody needed to know. I stared at her. You protected me. No. She looked at me. I protected my choice. I didn't understand. Then she said, Lucas, everyone thinks I chose you over the company. She stepped closer. The truth is, she lowered her voice. You are one of the reasons I built this company. I froze. Sophia, before I could ask what she meant, her assistant approached. Ms. Bennett. Sophia turned. What? The assistant looked nervous. The media found out about Lucas. My expression changed. What? The assistant continued. They're asking who he is. Sophia's face became serious. And what did you tell them? The assistant hesitated. Nothing yet. Sophia looked at me. Then she said something that changed everything. Good. Because I'll answer them myself. I stared at her. You don't have to do that. She looked at me. Yes. I do. Why? Sophia held my gaze. Because I'm tired of pretending you don't matter. At that moment, I realized something. Sophia Bennett wasn't running away from rumors. She wasn't hiding me. She was preparing to stand in front of everyone. And for the first time in her life, the Ice Queen was ready to fight for someone other than herself. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of messages. Not from friends. Not from family. From people inside Bennett Global. Some were asking if I was okay. Some were warning me. And some were telling me something I already knew. The company was changing. Because of me. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone. For years, I had worked beside Sophia Bennett. I knew her habits. I knew how she handled pressure. I knew she could walk into a room full of angry investors and make them quiet in less than 5 minutes. But I had never seen her fight for something personal. Until now. My phone rang. It was Sophia. I answered. Good morning. Are you at home? I smiled slightly. That sounds like a suspicious question. Lucas. Her serious tone came through immediately. Yes, I'm home. Good. Why? Because someone might try to contact you today. I frowned. Who? The media. I sat up. The media? Yes. Sophia, this is getting bigger than I expected. There was a pause. Then she said, I know. You sound calm. I am calm. Really? Yes. I laughed softly. You're unbelievable. Why? Because anyone else would be panicking. I'm not anyone else. That was true. Sophia Bennett never panicked. But then she added, however, I waited. I don't like that you're involved. That sentence surprised me. Because Sophia wasn't worried about herself. She was worried about me. An hour later, Sophia arrived at my apartment. I opened the door and froze. She wasn't wearing her usual CEO outfit. No expensive suit. No high heels. Just a simple black coat and jeans. She looked different. More like Sophia. Less like the woman everyone saw on magazine covers. You came here yourself? She looked at me. Yes. You have drivers. I know. You have assistants. I know. You have an entire company. She raised an eyebrow. Are you going to keep listing things? I smiled. I'm just surprised. She walked inside. You shouldn't be. Why? Because I told you. Told me what? That you matter. The way she said it was so natural. Like it was obvious. But to me, it wasn't. Not at all. She placed a folder on my table. What is this? Information about the accident. I looked at her. You investigated? Yes. Sophia, the police said it was just an accident. I know. Then why? She opened the folder. Because I don't believe it. Inside were photos, reports, details about the vehicle. I looked through them. You think someone did this? I know someone did this. I looked up. What? Sophia's expression became serious. The brakes were damaged. My heart stopped. What? The report was changed before the police received it. I stared at her. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were recovering. And now you need to know. I closed the folder. Sophia, this isn't just about the company anymore. No. She looked at me. It isn't. That afternoon, we went to meet the investigator Sophia hired. His name was Jack Reynolds, a former detective who now worked privately. He looked at me carefully. So you're Lucas Carter? I nodded. Yes. He looked at Sophia. Interesting. What? You canceled a $3 billion negotiation for him. Sophia's face didn't change. Yes. Jack smiled slightly. I've worked with powerful people for 20 years. And they usually protect their money. He looked at me. Not people. I didn't know how to answer. Sophia simply said, Lucas is different. Jack nodded. I can see that. On the way back, the car was quiet. I looked out the window. Then I finally asked, Sophia. Yes. Why are you really helping me? She didn't answer. I waited. A minute passed. 2 minutes. Finally, she spoke. Because I know what it feels like when nobody comes. I turned toward her. What? Her eyes stayed forward. When my father died, everyone around me cared about the company. She paused. They talked about shares. They talked about leadership. They talked about what would happen next. Her voice became quieter. But nobody asked if I was okay. I didn't say anything. Because this was the first time Sophia had ever talked about her personal life. I learned something after that. What? That people only stay when they need something. I looked at her. That isn't true. She smiled sadly. You think that because you're different? I shook my head. No. You don't know that. I do. Why? Because I stayed before you had anything to give me. She looked at me. And for the first time, Sophia Bennett didn't have an answer. That night, something changed. Not between the company. Not between the board. Between us. The woman everyone believed had no emotions finally showed me the part of herself she had hidden for years. The part nobody else had seen. The part that was afraid. The part that cared. But the next morning, everything changed again. A message appeared on Sophia's phone. She read it. Her expression immediately became cold. What happened? She handed me the phone. The message was from someone inside Bennett Global. If you don't remove Lucas Carter from the company, we'll reveal everything. I looked at her. Everything. Sophia took the phone back. Yes. What does that mean? She stared at the screen. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. They found out about us. I froze. About us. Sophia looked at me. Yes. There's nothing between us. She stayed silent. And that silence told me everything. Because maybe there was something between us. Something neither of us had been brave enough to admit. Sophia stood up. I need to go. Where? To handle this. Sophia. She stopped. Don't do everything alone. For a moment, she looked at me. Then she said, that is what I have always done. I walked closer. Not anymore. Her eyes moved to mine. And for a second, the Ice Queen disappeared. She looked scared. Not of losing the company. Not of losing money, but of losing me. That was the moment I realized. Sophia Bennett wasn't fighting a business battle anymore. She was fighting a battle over whether she was allowed to care about someone. And I wasn't going to let her fight alone. The next few days were the strangest days of my life. Before all of this happened, my world was simple. I worked at Bennett Global. I handled Sophia's schedule. I made sure meetings started on time. I reminded her that eating lunch was not optional. That was my job, nothing more. At least, that's what I believed. But now, everyone in the company looked at me differently. Some thought I was lucky. Some thought I was a problem. Some thought I had somehow manipulated the most powerful woman in the company. And honestly, I understood why. From the outside, it looked impossible. The cold, untouchable CEO canceled a $3 billion deal because of a young assistant. Nobody believed there was more to the story. But there was. I just didn't know how much more. That morning, I arrived at Bennett Global earlier than usual. I wanted to talk to Sophia before the board meeting. When I reached her office, I heard voices inside. The door wasn't completely closed. I didn't mean to listen. But then I heard my name. Lucas Carter is becoming a liability. It was Richard Coleman, the chairman of the board. I stopped. Sophia answered immediately. No. Richard sighed. Sophia, be realistic. I am. The investors are watching. The media is watching. The entire industry is watching. A pause. Then Richard continued. You built this company by controlling emotions. Now one person is affecting your decisions. My hands tightened. I didn't like where this was going. Then Sophia spoke. He isn't affecting my decisions. Then why did you leave the negotiation? Because I had already identified a problem with the contract. That doesn't explain why you personally rushed back. Silence. A long silence. Then Sophia said, because Lucas needed me. My heart stopped for a second. Richard lowered his voice. And that is exactly the problem. I heard a chair move. Then Sophia said something that surprised me. No. Her voice was colder than I had ever heard. The problem is that everyone here believes caring about someone makes me weak. Nobody spoke. Then she added, it doesn't. I walked away before they noticed me. I didn't know why. Maybe because I had heard enough. Maybe because I needed time to understand what was happening. Sophia Bennett was defending me. Not as an employee. Not as an assistant. As someone important. And that scared me. Because I wasn't sure what I was to her. And I wasn't sure what she was becoming to me. Later that afternoon, Sophia asked me to meet her. Not at the office. Somewhere private. When I arrived, she was already there. She looked tired. Not physically. Emotionally. I sat across from her. You knew I was there? She looked at me. Yes. I was surprised. You knew? Yes. Then why didn't you say anything? Because you needed to hear it. I frowned. Hear what? The truth. I waited. Sophia looked down at her coffee. I don't regret coming back. I nodded. I know. But you don't understand why. I didn't answer. Because she was right. I didn't. She took a deep breath. Then she said, 3 years ago, Bennett Global almost disappeared. I listened. My father built the company. After he died, everyone expected me to fail. I knew that part. Everyone in the business world knew Sophia inherited a company full of problems. But I didn't know what happened behind closed doors. Executives left. She continued. Investors walked away. My own board members questioned whether I belonged in that position. Her hands tightened slightly. And during that time, everyone treated me like a title. I stayed silent. They didn't see Sophia. They saw CEO Bennett. She looked at me. Except you. I shook my head. I didn't do anything special. Yes, you did. No, Sophia. I just brought you food and reminded you to sleep. She smiled slightly. Exactly. I looked confused. Exactly. Everyone else wanted something from me. She looked at me. You wanted me to eat. That simple sentence hit harder than I expected. Because I remembered that time. To me, it was nothing. But to her, it meant something. Sophia. Yes. Why didn't you ever tell me this? She looked away. Because I was afraid. That surprised me. Afraid. Yes. You? A small smile appeared. Believe it or not, Lucas, I am human. I laughed quietly. I wasn't sure. She gave me a look. Very funny. Then her expression changed. I was afraid that if I told you how much you mattered, things would change. My smile disappeared. What do you mean? Sophia looked directly at me. Because you were the only person who treated me normally. The words came slowly. I didn't want to lose that. For a moment, Neither of us spoke. Then my phone rang. It was Jack Reynolds, the investigator. I answered. Jack. His voice sounded serious. Lucas, I found something. I stood immediately. What? The person who damaged your car wasn't trying to hurt you. My expression changed. Then what were they trying to do? A pause. Then Jack said, they wanted to scare someone. I looked at Sophia. Who? Jack lowered his voice. Sophia Bennett. The room became silent. I looked at her. She already understood. This wasn't random. Someone wasn't attacking me. They were sending Sophia a message. After the call ended, Sophia stood. I'm handling this. I immediately shook my head. No. She looked at me. No. No more doing everything alone. This is dangerous. So I don't want you involved. I stepped closer. Sophia. She looked at me. You came across the country for me. She became quiet. You stood in an emergency room and told everyone you were my family. I paused. So let me be there for you too. For the first time, Sophia Bennett looked completely speechless. That night, we discovered something even worse. The person behind the attack wasn't outside the company. It wasn't a competitor. It wasn't a stranger. The evidence pointed somewhere much closer. Inside Bennett Global. Someone who knew Sophia's schedule. Someone who knew the $3 billion deal. Someone who knew exactly how to hurt her. And when Sophia saw the name on the report, her face changed. Because the person behind everything was someone she trusted. Someone she had defended. Someone she never expected to betray her. Sophia looked at me. Lucas. Yes. Her voice was quiet. Promise me something. What? No matter what happens next. She paused. Don't leave. I stared at her. The woman who controlled an empire. The woman who never asked anyone for help. Was asking me to stay. And I knew then. This was no longer about a company. It was about protecting the person who had finally allowed herself to need someone. The next morning, Bennett Global felt different. Not because people were working harder. Not because there were more meetings. Because everyone knew something was coming. The rumors had spread faster than any official announcement. Someone inside the company had tried to hurt Sophia. Someone had targeted me. And somehow, the person at the center of everything was connected to Bennett Global. I walked through the office and noticed conversations stopping whenever I passed. Usually, I hated being the center of attention. But this time, I wasn't thinking about myself. I was thinking about Sophia. Because I knew one thing. She was going to handle this the way she handled everything. Alone. And I wasn't going to let her. When I entered Sophia's office, she was already working. 3 monitors. Several documents. A dozen messages waiting. She looked exactly like the woman everyone knew. Cold. Focused. Untouchable. But I noticed something. Her coffee was untouched. That never happened. Not because she loved coffee. Because she forgot to drink it when she was stressed. I walked over and moved the cup toward her. Drink. She looked up. Excuse me. You heard me. A small smile appeared. Are you giving orders to your CEO now? Yes. She raised an eyebrow. That's brave. Someone has to. For a second, she just looked at me. Then she picked up the cup and drank. I smiled. You're getting easier to manage. She immediately put the cup down. Don't push your luck. But I could see it. She was less tense. A few hours later, the emergency board meeting began. This time, it wasn't about the $3 billion deal. It was about trust. Everyone was there. The board, the executives, the legal team, and me. I wasn't supposed to be there. But Sophia personally asked me to sit beside her. Richard Coleman noticed. Lucas, are you sure you want to be part of this? Before I could answer, Sophia spoke. He stays. The room went quiet. Richard looked at her. Sophia. He stays. There was no argument in her voice. Just a decision. And everyone understood. The meeting started. The legal department presented the evidence. Someone had accessed private information. Someone had leaked parts of Sophia's schedule. Someone had attempted to create a situation where Sophia would look unstable. Richard looked serious. Do we know who did this? The lawyer nodded. Yes. The room became silent. Who? The lawyer looked at Sophia. She already knew. Then the name appeared on the screen. Marcus Reed. Sophia's chief operations officer. The man who had worked beside her for 5 years. The man everyone believed was her most loyal partner. I looked at Sophia. Her expression didn't change. But I knew. She was hurt. Not angry. Hurt. Richard leaned forward. Marcus had access to everything. Sophia nodded. Yes. You trusted him. Yes. And now? Sophia looked at the screen. Then she said, now I know I was wrong. I had never heard her admit that before. Sophia Bennett didn't make mistakes. Not publicly. Not in front of people. But today she did. Because the truth mattered more than her pride. Then Marcus walked into the room. Everyone turned. He wasn't nervous. That surprised me. He actually looked confident. Interesting meeting. Richard stood. Marcus, you need to explain yourself. Marcus smiled. Explain what? The lawyer placed documents on the table. You were identified as the person who leaked information. Marcus laughed. That? He looked around. You all really believe this? Nobody answered. Then his eyes landed on Sophia. You believe this too? Sophia stared at him. Yes. For the first time, Marcus looked surprised. Sophia. No. Her voice was calm. You made your choice. Marcus shook his head. You're really going to throw away 5 years because of him? He pointed at me. The room became silent. I expected Sophia to defend herself. Instead, she stood. And everyone immediately paid attention. Be careful with your words. Marcus smiled. Why? Because he's special? Sophia didn't hesitate. Yes. That answer shocked everyone, including me. She continued. He is. Marcus laughed. You're proving my point. No. Sophia walked around the table. You think caring about someone makes me weaker. She stopped. But you made the same mistake everyone else made. Marcus frowned. What mistake? You thought I became successful because I had no feelings. The room was completely silent. Sophia looked around. I became successful because I knew what mattered. Then she looked at me. And Lucas reminded me of that. Nobody spoke. Not even Richard. Because this wasn't the CEO speaking. This was Sophia. The real Sophia. The woman behind the title. After the meeting ended, Marcus was taken away by the legal team. The company finally understood the truth. I wasn't Sophia's weakness. I was the person who reminded her why she fought. But the battle wasn't over. Because later that evening, Sophia received another message. This one was different. Short. Anonymous. You won today, but you haven't seen the final move. I saw her expression change. Sophia? She locked her phone. It's nothing. I frowned. No. She looked at me. Lucas. Don't do that. Do what? Pretend everything is fine. She was silent. Then she said, the person behind Marcus isn't Marcus. I froze. What? He was working for someone. Who? Sophia looked away. I don't know. That was the first time I saw something I never expected. Fear. Real fear. Not for herself. For someone else. That night, I found Sophia sitting alone in her office. The lights were still on. She had been there for hours. I knocked. She looked up. Lucas. I walked inside. You told me not to leave. Yes. So I'm staying. She looked at me. You should be afraid. Maybe. This person is targeting you because of me. I know. You could lose your job. I know. You could get hurt again. I stepped closer. Sophia. She stopped. I already got hurt. Her eyes changed. But you came. She looked at me. And for once, she had no words. A few seconds later, she quietly said, I don't know how to do this. Do what? Need someone. That sentence broke through everything. Because Sophia Bennett could negotiate billion-dollar deals. She could defeat competitors. She could control an entire company. But she didn't know how to accept being cared for. I smiled. Then learn. She looked at me. With you? I nodded. With me. For the first time in years. Sophia didn't look like an ice queen. She looked like a woman who finally stopped fighting alone. But neither of us knew. The biggest challenge was still coming. Because the person behind everything wasn't trying to destroy Sophia's company. They were trying to destroy the one thing Sophia had finally chosen. Us. For the first time in months, Sophia Bennett left her office before midnight. That alone surprised everyone. At Bennett Global, people knew one rule. Sophia didn't leave until everything was finished. But that night, she walked out beside me. Not as my CEO. Not as the woman everyone feared. Just Sophia. We entered the elevator together. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she looked at me. You're smiling. I looked at her. Am I? Yes. Maybe because I never thought I would see the day when Sophia Bennett actually leaves work on time. She gave me a serious look. I am capable of having a normal life. I raised an eyebrow. Are you sure? She looked away. I dislike your attitude. I laughed. And something about that moment felt different. Before everything happened, I never imagined I could joke with her like this. Sophia Bennett was someone I respected, someone I admired, someone I thought was completely out of my reach. But now, she was the person who called me when she was scared, the person who stayed beside my hospital bed, the person who told the world I was her family. The next morning, the situation with the $3 billion deal changed. I was in Sophia's office when her assistant, Claire, rushed in. "Ms. Bennett." Sophia looked up. "What happened?" Claire placed a tablet on the desk. "The Zurich investors contacted us." Sophia took the tablet. I watched her expression carefully. "What did they say?" Claire hesitated. "They want to restart negotiations." I looked surprised. "Seriously?" Sophia didn't answer immediately. She read the message again. Then she said, "They want to meet tomorrow." Claire nodded. "But there is one condition." Sophia looked at her. "What condition?" "They want you to attend alone." The room became quiet. I understood immediately. They didn't want me there. They still believed I was the reason Sophia lost control. Sophia put the tablet down. "Fine." I looked at her. "Fine. Yes. But..." She looked at me. "Lucas." I stopped. Her voice softened. "This is business." I nodded. But something felt wrong. Because I knew Sophia. And I knew she was hiding something. That night, I found her still working. Again. I stood at the door. "You're doing it again." She looked up. "Doing what?" "Pretending you don't need help." She sighed. "Lucas." "No." I walked inside. "You told me not to leave." "Yes." "Then you can't push me away whenever things get difficult." Sophia stared at me. For a moment, she looked annoyed. Then tired. Then something else. "You make things complicated." I smiled. "I've heard that before." She almost smiled. Almost. Then she became serious. "I am worried." I sat down. "About the deal?" "No." That answer surprised me. "Then what?" She looked at the documents on her desk. "About losing everything I built." I was quiet. Because that was the first time Sophia admitted fear about her company. "I spent years proving I belonged here." She continued. "I fought people who thought I was only successful because of my father." She looked at me. "I can't let one mistake destroy everything." I shook my head. "It won't. You don't know that." "I do." "How?" "Because you aren't the same person who started this company." She looked confused. "What does that mean?" "It means you built something bigger than money." Sophia didn't answer. Because she knew what I meant. She built trust, respect, loyalty, things she never believed mattered. The next day, Sophia went to meet the investors. I stayed at the office. I tried to focus on work. But something felt wrong. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Hello." No response. Then a voice came. "Lucas Carter." I froze. "Who is this?" "You should tell Sophia to stop looking for answers." My expression changed. "What?" "She already lost once." The voice became colder. "Don't make her lose twice." The call ended. I immediately called Sophia. She didn't answer. Again. I called Claire. No answer. My chest tightened. Something was wrong. 20 minutes later, Sophia finally called back. "Lucas." Her voice sounded normal. Too normal. "Where are you?" "At the meeting." "Are you okay?" A pause. "Yes." I knew her too well. "No, you're not." Silence. Then she said, "Someone tried to interfere with the negotiation." I stood. "What happened?" "They leaked false information about me." "What kind?" "They claimed I canceled the original deal because of a personal relationship." My jaw tightened. "They're still using me." "Yes." "Why?" Sophia was quiet. Then, "Because they know exactly where to attack." I lowered my voice. "Sophia." "Yes." "They're not attacking your company." She didn't answer. "They're attacking you." Another silence. Then she said, "I know." That evening, Sophia returned. But something was different. She walked into the office and placed a folder on my desk. "What is this?" "The final agreement." I opened it. My eyes widened. "You fixed it?" "Yes." "You actually saved the deal." She nodded. "But not the way they expected." I looked at her. "What do you mean?" Sophia sat down. "The investors originally wanted me to prove I was a CEO who could separate emotion from business." I waited. "What did you do?" She looked at me. I told them the truth. "What truth?" "That Lucas Carter is not a weakness." My heart stopped. "You told them?" "Yes." "Sophia?" She smiled slightly. "And they respected it." I couldn't believe it. The same woman who once hid every emotion had just admitted publicly that she cared. Later that night, the company released the official announcement. The $3 billion deal was back. The board stopped questioning Sophia. The rumors started disappearing. But there was one thing that changed forever. Everyone now knew. The Ice Queen CEO had someone she would protect. Someone she would choose. Someone she refused to lose. When we left the office, Sophia suddenly stopped. "Lucas." I turned. "Yes." She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, "The night you called me from the hospital." I waited. I wasn't thinking about the deal. "I know." "No." She shook her head. "You don't." She stepped closer. "I wasn't thinking about my company." A pause. "I wasn't thinking about money." Her voice became softer. "I was thinking that if something happened to you." She stopped. For the first time, Sophia Bennett looked vulnerable. "I don't know what I would do." I didn't say anything. Because I finally understood. The woman who had everything was afraid of losing the one thing she never expected to have. Me. A few weeks after everything happened, life finally started to feel normal again. Almost normal. Of course, nothing about my life was actually normal anymore. A few months earlier, I was just Lucas Carter, a young employee who worked hard, kept his head down, and stayed away from company politics. Now, people in the office knew my name. Not because I was famous. Not because I had a powerful family. Because I was the person who made Sophia Bennett, the woman everyone called the Ice Queen, change. And honestly, I still didn't know how I felt about that. One morning, I walked into Bennett Global and noticed something strange. People weren't staring at me with suspicion anymore. They were smiling. Ethan walked over with a coffee in his hand. "Look who finally arrived." I looked at him. "What?" He shook his head. "I still can't believe this." "Believe what?" "That Sophia Bennett canceled a $3 billion deal for you." I sighed. "Ethan." "No, seriously." He lowered his voice. "The old Sophia would have fired anyone who interrupted that negotiation." I smiled. "The old Sophia?" He nodded. "Yeah." Then he looked toward her office. "But now," he smiled, "she actually looks happy." I followed his eyes. And there she was, Sophia Bennett, standing behind the glass wall of her office. Working. Focused. Confident. But when she noticed me looking, she smiled. A real smile. And that still surprised me. Later that afternoon, Sophia called me into her office. I walked in. "You needed me?" "Yes." She handed me a folder. I opened it. Then I looked at her. "What is this?" "Your new position." I blinked. "My new position?" Sophia nodded. "You're being promoted." I stared at the document. "Senior Operations Manager?" "Yes." "Sophia, I didn't ask for this." "I know." "Then why?" She looked at me like the answer was obvious. "Because you earned it." I shook my head. "People will say." "I don't care." I stopped. She continued. "Lucas, you spent years proving yourself without asking anyone for special treatment." She walked closer. "I am not giving you this because of what happened." She looked directly at me. "I am giving you this because you are the best person for the job." That meant more than I expected. Because coming from Sophia, it wasn't just a promotion. It was trust. That evening, Sophia invited me to dinner. Not a business dinner. Not a company event. Just dinner. I almost thought I misunderstood. "You want to have dinner?" "Yes." "With me?" She looked amused. "Lucas." "What?" "You are the only person who would ask that question." I smiled. "I'm just surprised." "Why?" "Because Sophia Bennett doesn't usually do normal things." She looked at me. "I am trying." That answer caught me off guard. "You're trying?" "Yes." "To do what?" She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "To have a life outside work." I looked at her. And I think you are the reason I want one." We sat there for a while. No meetings. No investors. No pressure. Just us. Then Sophia said something I never expected. "Do you remember what I told the nurse?" I knew exactly what she meant. "I am his family." She nodded. "I meant it." I looked at her. "Sophia?" "No." She stopped me. "Let me finish." Her expression was serious. When I said that, I realized something. "What?" "That family isn't always about blood." She looked down. "Sometimes it's about the person who stays." My heart tightened. Because I knew what she was saying. She had spent years surrounded by people. Executives. Employees. Investors. But she had still been alone. Until me. A few days later, Sophia had another public event. The same kind of event where she used to walk alone. executives, investors, media, everyone watching. Before we entered, she stopped. You don't have to come inside. I looked at her. What? You can wait outside. Why would I? Because people will talk. I smiled. Sophia. Yes. After everything that happened, I shook my head. I think people talking is the least interesting thing about us. For a moment, she just looked at me. Then she reached for my hand. I froze. Sophia Bennett, the woman who avoided showing emotion, the woman who hated attention, held my hand. In front of everyone, the room became quiet. People noticed immediately, but Sophia didn't let go. She walked forward with me beside her. Not behind her, not as an employee. Beside her, a reporter approached. Ms. Bennett, many people were surprised when you abandoned the $3 billion negotiation to return for Lucas Carter. Sophia looked at me, then back at the reporter. I didn't abandon anything. The reporter raised an eyebrow. But you left. Yes. Why? Sophia answered without hesitation. Because money can be replaced. She held my hand tighter. People cannot. The room went silent. Years later, people would still talk about that night. They would talk about the CEO who walked away from billions. They would talk about the woman who finally allowed herself to care. But they would never understand the truth. Sophia didn't choose me because I was special. She chose me because, for the first time in her life, someone chose her first. After the event, we stood outside. The city was quiet. Sophia looked at me. Lucas. Yes. I have a question. That sounds dangerous. She smiled. Are you afraid? Of what? Of being part of my life. I thought about it. The company. The pressure. The attention. Everything that changed after that phone call from the emergency room. Then I looked at her. No. Why? Because the woman who crossed the country for me is the same woman I would cross the world for. Sophia didn't say anything. She just smiled. And for the first time, I saw no ice queen. No CEO. No impossible distance between us. Just Sophia. The woman who came to the emergency room at midnight and told everyone, I am his family. And she was.